Hi, buongiorno. It's your boy Big Rich, Queens, New York City. Beautiful Monday morning. Sitting back, I got a little bit of London pound cake, 75. Waiting for my engineer to get here so we can hook up this new mixer and hopefully get back to business with the morning shows. But until then, Mob Story Season 2. Business time. Let's get right into it. The murder that buried Sonny Franzese. Ernie the Hawk Rupolo was destined for underworld greatness. He didn't seem destined to live as long as he did either. And that's when he finally did get rubbed out in 1964. No one was supposed to know what happened to him because his body was never supposed to be found. Rupolo was supposed to just be another gangland disappearance from just another hoodlum who got on the wrong side of the wrong person and then fell off the edge of the earth. That's where the story was supposed to end. Only Ernie came back, floated back actually, and that set in motion a chain of events that knocked Sonny off his feet. Sonny died last week on February 23rd at the ripe old age of 103. No, Sonny wasn't found guilty of Rupolo's murder, which some on both sides of the law believe he had nothing to do with. But a solid argument could be made that Rupolo's murder was the reason Sonny got the 50-year prison sentence for masterminding a crew that robbed banks across the country. In another irony, many people believe Sonny had nothing to do with that one either. Rupolo's murder stimulated an unprecedented legal onslaught against Sonny, with prosecutors from Manhattan, Queens, Nassau, and the Justice Department's Eastern District of New York all targeting him. 3 years later, and Sonny was buried in cases for the Rupolo homicide, for running a $10 million bookmaking ring in Manhattan, for conspiring to rob banks across the country, and for a home invasion targeting an Oceanside jukebox company owner. The Hawk washed ashore on Queens County Beach, Queens stand up, in the summer of 1964, bloated and gruesome, and still dragging the cinder blocks to which his body had been tied with yellow cord. The public was terrified and repulsed, but also curious. There's a ton of information online about Ernie thanks to a beast of a story published in Life magazine in 1967. Ernie and his brother Willie were talkers. New York law enforcement was accommodating, and the Life reporter must have gotten a green light to milk every drop. A disgraciad. Its bright depiction of an epic confrontation between righteous prosecutors and a man presented as the epitome of organized crime cast shadows over concerning questions about the integrity of the American judicial system in 1967. Never mind that the story is bloated, turgid, and pompous, quite like Ernie himself. What was most shocking about the life story, more shocking even than the grisly excerpts from the coroner's report that intermittently interrupt the first part of the story and that grow exponentially more irritating with each interruption, is that for all the information packed into the piece, which unfolds over a dramatic 3 chapters, so many basics were left out, like the name of the crime family to which Sonny was attached. Though, to be honest, after spending hours on many days pursuing that clunky story, we have missed a paragraph here and there. And because of the way the story was written, the internet is brimming with inaccuracies. For instance, while we all learn about how Rupolo fingered Vito Genovese, disgraciad, we are even treated to part of a transcript of Ernie discussing his testimony against Don Vitoni in his own silly words. And the story also includes excerpts from his actual testimony against the psychotic successor of Charlie Lucky Luciano. That part of the story, the betrayal of the Genovese, has nothing to do with Sonny. Meaning, even if Sonny did order the hit on Ernie, he didn't do it as a favor for old man Vito, who was then the still locked up drug trafficker who angered Joe Valachi and didn't die until 1969. In fact, Vito's forgotten confidant, Mike Miranda, supposedly told Ernie back in the 1940s that everything was cool after the charges against Vito were dropped for the 1930s killing of the Shadow Boccia, who was Anthony Fat Andy Ruggiano's brother-in-law. Recall, Sonny made a play to get Fat Andy in the Colombo family when the Gambinos passed Ruggiano's name around. Only to know that requires one to read more than only half the story. The story doesn't even reveal why prosecutors believed Sonny was responsible for the murder, meaning what was his motive. We get a suggestion from Ernie's widow, Eleanor, who said that Ernie was killed for trying to muscle in on Sonny's rackets. They hated each other. They really, really did, she said. A solid sounding motive, though not a very believable one, considering Ernie likely was in Kid Blast crew, which meant Carroll Gardens. Brooklyn was his stomping grounds. As for Eleanor, she turned up in the story with a new husband, John Blue Boy Cordero. And if you know who he is, bells should be ringing right about now. Whether Sonny was involved in the murder or not, he went to court every day for the trial. Guys like Sonny don't hide who they are. They don't deliver glib John Gotti-like quotes about life to draw incremental exposure in the media either. What is strikingly conveyed in the life story is the awesome, larger-than-life presence of Sonny in 1967 at the peak of his power. Interestingly, even in 1967, they stuck practically the same body count to him, which makes you wonder. Self-confessed gangland triggerman Ernie the Hawk, whose mother had raised him to be Al Capone, met both the gun and the knife. Ernie had been reported missing on August 2nd, 1964, by his then estranged wife. The police recovered what was left of him off Breezy Point, Queens, on August 24th, 1964. Ernie's brother identified the remains and was horrified. What had happened to Ernie crossed some sort of line in the view of Willie and his pals, all of them Denzians in the shallower parts of the New York underworld. Quote, I can't see why they had to do it like that, unquote. He'd later say of his brother's fate, it's not even a clean knockoff. I don't know. Savages. Shot him, stabbed him, to kill him. That's one thing. Not only me, but even the others in the other world, his own friends. They can't figure it out. As per the autopsy, Ernie had been shot in no order, 4 times in the head and chest with a .38 caliber. The coroner also yanked a 5th bullet from Ernie's decomposing corpse, a .45. The not-so-decisive result of a disagreement that gave Ernie the nickname. But that's not part of this story. And also, he was stabbed 18 times with a knife. The body of the deceased, not merely the unmistakable signs of murder, but more significantly evidencing a craftsmanship commonly employed in the enforcement of the law of the jungle. As the criminal indictment later noted, it was tied up, weighed down by concrete blocks, and wrapped in heavy chains as well. Obviously, the destined had incurred someone's deadly animosity in his lifetime. Ernie and a drinking buddy, Roy, had gone to the Cocoa Poodle, but the brother had been too tired to accompany them. That was the last time Ernie's brother saw him alive. The grisly murder was linked to a man closely to newly coronated mob boss Joe Colombo, who was elevated after the 1962 death of Joe Profaci. One of Colombo's first moves was to promote Sonny to capo. At the time, Sonny claimed he owned a dry cleaning store in Brooklyn, which didn't say diddly about why he was able to host lavish parties at the Copacabanas nightclub in Manhattan and were attended by major Hollywood luminaries of the day, including Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and the Candyman Sammy Davis Jr. A boxing fan, he also palled around with Jake LaMotta from Martin Scorsese's 1980 film Raging Bull and Rocky Marciano, to whom Sonny bore an unearthly physical resemblance. At the 1960s peak, Sonny was among the top mobsters living on Long Island, where he was considered the czar of crime from Brooklyn to Suffolk County. The rackets that fed his more than considerable income included bookmaking, loan sharking, and extorting the protection money from the nightclubs and bars. One of his later efforts allegedly was extracting payoffs from pornographic peep show suppliers. Not one of these allegations led to criminal charges against him. Let it be told, Sonny cut a unique figure in the mid-20th century American underworld while he wore the suits. He didn't smoke or drink and stayed away from the massive pasta lunches other wise guys enjoyed. And in something that definitely contributed to his living such a long life, Sonny said he absolutely and completely avoided sugar. once telling a reporter that he hadn't used it since 1942. To be continued. First of all, salute to Ed Scarpo. Great job. Intense, intense article. The murder that buried Sonny Franzese. All right, everybody have a good afternoon. I'm waiting for my engineer. Hopefully I can go live tomorrow morning. But then again, with my luck, I really don't know. Everybody have a good day. Make sure you like, comment, and let me know what let me know what you're throwing in the air. And I hope you wiped your feet when you stepped in the room. Salute. Everybody have a good one.